You went to the doctor, came home with a number stuck in your head, high creatinine, and since then you haven't been able to stop thinking about it. You searched the internet and what you found scared you even more. Kidney failure, dialysis, transplant. And then you looked at your own daily life and asked yourself, what am I doing wrong? What I eat, what I drink, what I take, is it destroying my kidneys without me noticing? The answer, unfortunately, is often yes. But before talking about the mistakes that are harming your kidneys, I need to give you information that most doctors never mentioned in your appointment because it is too simple to appear on a prescription and too cheap to appear in a hospital protocol. The number one seed for protecting the kidneys, reducing creatinine, and slowing the progression of chronic kidney disease is flaxseed, specifically golden flaxseed or brown flaxseed, both available in any American supermarket for a few dollars. I know you've already heard of flaxseed. You probably associate it with dieting or one of those trendy foods that everyone mentions, but no one explains why. So I'm going to show you the real science behind it. And after listening, you will understand why I recommend flaxseed to practically all my patients with elevated creatinine. A study published in the Journal of Renal Nutrition documented that patients with chronic kidney disease who consumed flaxseed for 12 weeks showed a significant reduction in creatinine levels and improvement in kidney function markers compared to the group that did not. 12 weeks. Not months, not years. 12 weeks with 1 tablespoon a day. Tell me in the comments now, what is your current creatinine and which state are you watching from? Write it here because I want to understand who is on the other side of the screen and what else needs to be explained. Flaxseed works for the kidneys through three simultaneous mechanisms that add up and amplify each other. And understanding these three mechanisms is what will make you never look at this seed as a generic diet food again. The first is plant-based omega-3, specifically alpha-linolenic acid, which is the most powerful anti-inflammatory nature offers, and it interrupts the vicious cycle that exists in chronic kidney disease. When the kidneys are compromised, the damaged kidney generates inflammation. The inflammation damages the kidney more. The kidney generates more inflammation, and so on. The omega-3 in flaxseed reduces the production of inflammatory molecules that destroy the nephrons, the filtering units of the kidneys, stopping this cycle before the damage progresses to stages where reversal becomes impossible. The second mechanism is lignans, and flaxseed is the largest source of lignans in the entire plant kingdom. Lignans have very potent antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties. They protect kidney cells against oxidative damage. Think of oxidative damage like rust in an iron pipe that slowly eats away at the metal, and lignans as a protective coating that prevents this rust from forming. Research shows that flaxseed lignans have a specific protective effect against nephritis, kidney inflammation, and against renal fibrosis, which is the hardening of the tissue that happens in advanced chronic kidney disease. The third mechanism is soluble fiber, especially mucilage, that gelatinous substance that forms when flaxseed is placed in water. This fiber reduces the absorption of toxins in the intestine and allows part of the work that the compromised kidney cannot do to be performed by the intestine as long as there is enough fiber for this. Flaxseed provides this fiber. The kidneys need water to function. Plenty of water, clean, preferably filtered. When you don't drink enough water, the blood becomes more concentrated. The kidneys work much harder to filter this thick blood. Creatinine becomes more concentrated instead of being eliminated in the urine, and the risk of kidney stones increases significantly. The general recommendation is 1.5 to 2 liters of water per day, but many Americans over 60 drink much less than that without realizing it, because with age, the thirst mechanism becomes less sensitive. You can be clinically dehydrated and not feel thirsty. This means you need to drink water by habit and by schedule, not just when you feel thirsty. But it's not just how much you drink, it's what you drink. Sodas, even diet or zero, contain phosphates and acids that overload the kidneys. Industrial juices have sugar, preservatives, and additives that the kidneys need to filter. Excess coffee has a diuretic effect that contributes to dehydration when not compensated with enough water throughout the day. The best drink for the kidneys is the simplest, filtered water at room temperature throughout the day. And to boost the effect of the flaxseed we discussed in the introduction, drink a glass of water with lemon and no sugar in the morning before breakfast. The citrate in lemon helps prevent kidney stones and has a slightly alkalizing effect that favors kidney function in ways that research is documenting with increasing consistency. Tell me in the comments, do you drink 2 liters of water a day, or do you still rely on soda and coffee to hydrate? There is a very strong tendency among older Americans to increase animal protein consumption, meat, eggs, dairy, with the justification of preserving muscle mass. This justification has a real basis, and protein is essential for muscles. The problem is when consumption is excessive and when it comes mainly from processed meats, sausage, hot dogs, ham, bacon. When you eat animal protein, the body digests it and produces nitrogenous waste, including urea and creatinine itself. The more animal protein you consume, the more waste the kidney needs to filter. For a healthy kidney, this is not a problem. But for an already compromised kidney, this excess work accelerates damage progressively in ways that tests capture month by month as a decline in the glomerular filtration rate. Studies published in the American Journal of Kidney Diseases show that moderately reducing animal protein consumption in people with chronic kidney disease significantly slows the progression of loss of kidney function. This doesn't mean eliminating protein, it means moderating and choosing better sources. The best sources for those with high creatinine are white fish, eggs, and plant proteins like beans, lentils, and chickpeas. And here is the direct connection to flaxseed. Flaxseed powder added to plain yogurt or breakfast oatmeal adds high-quality plant protein while delivering the 3 kidney protecting mechanisms we discussed. It is a substitution that doesn't remove pleasure from eating. It adds protection. For Mr. Gerald, a 73-year-old patient with a creatinine of 2.8, 3 specific changes: swapping the sausage dinner for scrambled eggs or baked fish, drinking 2 liters of water a day, and including a tablespoon of ground flaxseed in his breakfast, reduced his creatinine from 2.8 to 2.1 in 12 weeks. The nephrologist was surprised. Mr. Gerald was not. He had done the work with consistency. Tell me in the comments, do you consume processed meats like sausage and ham regularly? Salt, the hardest enemy to fight. Not the salt you put on food, but the salt hidden in practically everything that comes packaged. Excess sodium causes 2 serious problems for the kidneys simultaneously. First, it raises blood pressure, and high blood pressure is the second leading cause of chronic kidney disease in the United States, second only to diabetes. Every time pressure goes up, the tiny vessels inside the kidneys come under tension, and over time these vessels get damaged, the filters are destroyed, and kidney function falls progressively. Second, excess sodium forces the kidney to work double time to eliminate this excess. It's like forcing a treatment plant to process water much saltier than it was designed to handle. The World Health Organization recommendation is a maximum of 2,300 milliliters of sodium per day. But studies show that the average American consumes nearly double that, and much of this sodium doesn't come from the salt shaker. A hot dog can have more than 700 milligrams of sodium. A slice of ham, 400 milligrams. A seasoning packet exceeds 1,000 milligrams. A packet of soup can contain more than the entire daily quota in a single meal. The practical solution begins with reading labels. Look for the sodium line in the nutrition table and avoid any product with more than 400 milliliters per serving. Replace refined salt with fresh herbs, rosemary, basil, cilantro, parsley, chives, which give flavor without harming the kidneys. And progressively eliminate sodium champions, canned goods, deli meats, ready-made seasonings, industrial sauces, and fast food. The connection to flaxseed here is direct. Flaxseed's soluble fiber reduces the intestinal absorption of toxins and partially relieves the load on kidneys compromised by excess sodium, functioning as additional support while you work to reduce sodium in your diet. Tell me in the comments, have you ever turned a processed food package over to check the sodium content? Now, I'm going to tell you the most delicate mistake on this list. And I need you to listen very carefully because it involves common medications sold freely without a prescription that most people consider completely harmless. I'm talking about non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, NSAIDs, ibuprofen, naproxen, diclofenac, used by millions of Americans every day for headaches, back pain, joint pain, and fever. They are considered harmless because they don't need a prescription. But for the kidneys, they are silently devastating when used frequently. Anti-inflammatories block the production of prostaglandins, substances the kidney uses to regulate internal blood flow. When this flow is reduced, the kidney filter cells don't get enough oxygen. With frequent and prolonged use, this damage accumulates irreversibly. Studies published in the Archives of Internal Medicine show that regular use of anti inflammatories is associated with a significantly higher risk of chronic kidney disease, especially in people who already have high blood pressure, diabetes, or reduced kidney function. This doesn't mean you can never take an ibuprofen. It means that frequent use, more than 2 or 3 times a week, is dangerous for the kidneys in ways that no routine test will detect until the damage is already advanced. For Mrs. Dorothy, a 68-year-old patient suffering from chronic joint pain due to osteoarthritis, who took ibuprofen almost every day for years because it relieved the pain and she could move, when she reached the office, her creatinine was at 3.1 and her kidneys were functioning at less than 40% of normal capacity. No one had explained that the medicine she took for pain was silently destroying her kidneys. We worked together to find alternatives: physical therapy, controlled doses of acetaminophen when necessary, dietary changes that reduce joint inflammation, and the inclusion of daily ground flaxseed. In 6 months, her creatinine dropped to 2.4 and kidney function rose to nearly 50%. It wasn't a miracle, it was information applied with consistency. Tell me in the comments, do you use ibuprofen or naproxen regularly, more than twice a week, without knowing this could be damaging your kidneys? Now that you understand the 4 mistakes that are overloading your kidneys, you need to understand how to use flaxseed the way science confirms works, because there is a right way and a wrong way, and the wrong way is exactly what most people do. The biggest mistake patients make with flaxseed is swallowing the whole seed. The flaxseed has an extremely tough shell. If you swallow it whole, it passes through the digestive system practically without being digested, and you don't absorb any of the 3 kidney protecting mechanisms we discussed. It's like buying medicine and keeping it in the closed package without taking it. The content is there: the omega-3, the lignans, the soluble fiber, but you have access to none of them. Flaxseed must be consumed ground, crushed in a blender or processor, so that the nutrients are released and absorbed by the body. 1 tablespoon of ground flaxseed a day is enough to obtain the benefits documented by the Journal of Renal Nutrition. You don't need more, and excess can cause problems, especially for those with high potassium, which is common in people with advanced kidney disease. Ground flaxseed should be kept in the refrigerator in a closed jar and consumed within 7 days of being ground, because omega-3 oxidizes quickly when exposed to air and light. If you prefer convenience, buy flaxseed already ground in vacuum-sealed packaging. Always check the expiration date and keep it in the refrigerator after opening. The best time for consumption is in the morning, at breakfast, on an empty stomach, or with the first meal, so the soluble fiber works throughout the day, reducing the absorption of intestinal toxins that overload compromised kidneys. The forms of consumption that work best in practice, and that my patients sustain most consistently in the long term, are simple and fit into any American routine without complication. Place a tablespoon of ground flaxseed in plain sugar-free yogurt at breakfast. The combination of the yogurt's protein with the flaxseed's fiber and omega-3 creates a breakfast that simultaneously feeds muscles and protects kidneys. Mix it into oatmeal. Oats themselves are already beneficial for the kidneys because of their effect on cholesterol and glucose, and flaxseed amplifies that benefit. Sprinkle it over your salad at lunch, invisible in flavor but fully active in its mechanisms. Mix it into a glass of water with lemon and drink it in the morning. Simple, fast, effective. If you want variety, chia seeds are an equally powerful alternative. They don't have the lignans of flaxseed, but they have omega-3 in a similar quantity and are very rich in soluble fiber. 1 tablespoon of chia a day hydrated in water for 10 minutes before consuming works in a very similar way for the kidneys. A third option worth mentioning is pumpkin seeds. rich in zinc, magnesium, and antioxidants with a renal protective role, which can be consumed as an afternoon snack, toasted without salt, as a tasty addition to the protocol. Consistency is what makes the difference between a result like Mr. Gerald's, who reduced his creatinine from 2.8 to 2.1 in 12 weeks, and someone who uses flaxseed for 3 days and gives up because they didn't see an immediate result. Kidneys don't recover overnight. They respond to consistent care over weeks and months, the same way they were progressively damaged over years. The most important warning of everything I shared in this video needs to be said with all the clarity it deserves. Chronic kidney disease is a serious condition that requires individualized medical monitoring. Never stop any medication on your own. Never change your diet radically without consulting your doctor or nutritionist. And if you have high potassium in your tests, which is common in more advanced stages of kidney disease, flaxseed and chia need to be evaluated by your doctor before being included, because they contain a relevant amount of potassium that in some cases may be contraindicated. Every case is unique. What worked for Mr. Gerald and Mrs. Dorothy might need adjustment for your specific case. And that is exactly why this video is information and your doctor is the one who takes care of you with all the information about your case. The two need to work together. Flaxseed does not replace the doctor, it complements the care the doctor is giving. With that clarity established, the practical action plan you can start today is specific and immediately implementable. First step, smart hydration. Set a goal of 2 liters of water a day, set reminders on your phone, and every morning before breakfast, drink a glass of water with the juice of half a lemon and no sugar. Second step, reduce hidden sodium. This week, read the label of everything you buy packaged, look for the sodium line, and progressively eliminate deli meats from dinner, replacing them with eggs, fish, or vegetables cooked with fresh herbs. Third step, daily flaxseed. Buy whole golden flaxseed, grind enough for 1 week, keep it in the refrigerator in a closed jar, and every morning place a tablespoon in your breakfast, in yogurt, oatmeal, a smoothie, wherever you prefer, every day. Because consistency is what makes the difference between a test that surprises the nephrologist and a test that confirms what everyone expected. The kidneys are 2 organs that work in silence. You don't see them, you don't feel them, at least not until the problem is advanced. They simply stay there day after day, filtering, cleaning, regulating, without asking for anything in return. They've done this for decades, for your whole life. When the test comes back with high creatinine, the first reaction is fear. And I understand that fear completely because I know what it means to look at that number and feel like the ground has disappeared. But I want you to turn that fear into action because kidneys have a recovery capacity that many people underestimate, especially when they receive the right tools. Adequate hydration, reducing hidden sodium, moderated and well-chosen animal protein, replacing the anti-inflammatories that are silently destroying the filters, and ground flaxseed every day, 1 tablespoon every day with consistency, delivering omega-3, lignans, and soluble fiber that stop the inflammatory cycle, protect the nephrons from oxidative damage, and help the intestine do part of the work that compromised kidneys can no longer do alone. It's not too late to take care of your kidneys. You made it this far, you watched this video to the end, and that already says a lot about you. It says you care about your own health, that you don't want to surrender. And I am here to tell you, you don't need to surrender. Now, I genuinely want to hear from you. 3 questions to answer in the comments right now. First, of the 4 mistakes we discussed today, wrong hydration, excess animal protein, hidden salt, and unsupervised anti-inflammatories, which one do you recognize in your own daily life? Write it here honestly, because the answer will tell me what still needs to be communicated with more clarity to reach the people who need this information most. Second, are you going to start using ground flaxseed starting tomorrow? Write the commitment here, because the public commitment you record in this comment is the first real step toward the habit that can appear in your next creatinine tests. And third, what is your current creatinine and which state are you watching from? I am always genuinely impressed by the diversity of people who come to this channel. And knowing the real numbers of those watching helps me create increasingly specific content for what you really need. If this video was valuable to you, if it finally explained something the doctor never had time to explain with this clarity, share it now with someone you love. Someone who uses anti-inflammatories every week without knowing the risk. Someone who has high blood pressure or diabetes and hasn't yet had a kidney function test. Someone who deserves to have this information before it's too late. Press the like button. This helps this channel reach more Americans who need this information. Click subscribe now and hit the bell so you don't miss any content like this. Take care of your kidneys. They worked for you your whole life. Now it's your turn to work for them. Starts today, starts with flaxseed, starts with the consistency that makes all the difference.